Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, Josh here. How the heck are ya? Been a little while since I released a Quick Talk, and I'm getting messages from all my angry listeners saying, Josh, we need more Quick Talks. Well, I promise it'll be worth the wait, because I've been holding off waiting to connect again with my friend Brian Hegarty, who was on the podcast, I think, last fall, and we got a tremendous response. He's a 27-year veteran in the pressure cleaning industry. He's actually personally hired over 1,000 people in his lifetime. He's had tons of entrepreneurial endeavors and experience, and I'm fascinated by Brian's hiring process. And long story short, we're going to talk today about hiring. And it's the spring, and everything that has to do with hiring, the recruiting, the interviewing, the actual hiring, the training, the development, the retention, the culture, all this stuff that we all need to have in our business, because it is the single biggest bottleneck. The single biggest thing that holds all of us back. Even me with my software company, we're growing, we're hiring. It's a process. It's difficult. And Brian's going to bring some clarity here. Brian, thanks for carving an hour out of your time in the middle of the spring when I know you're in the middle of some hiring right now. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, Josh, great. Thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you're busy. You just spent the whole winter fishing because you have a very, very nice business. You get to go to Florida.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, you do. It's awesome.
I don't know of any other business when you can make your whole living in 8 months and then spend 4 months fishing in the Keys. That's a great business to have.
It's amazing. But I also know right now you're back in New Jersey. You've just made a slew of hires. In fact, I think you're up to like 12 new hires just for this spring. And you're in the middle of it right now. So you've given me some time. Let's talk about that. First of all, I want to ask you about where you're at right now, some of the pain points you've had in the past with hiring, and we can kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, the whole hiring process and system that we created was the result of all the pain that I've experienced over all these years, hiring people who just were not A players. And, I came to the realization that if I didn't start hiring A players, which that's the biggest problem in everybody's business, is you don't have A players. And if I didn't start hiring A players and getting them into my business, I would never be able to grow. And not only would I not be able to grow, but if I stayed at the same rate hiring B and C players, I would have the same problems every year. I'm going to have that guy that cracks the truck up and the guy that drops the ladder through somebody's car and all the other problems that go with that. I started doing hiring. I've only had like 3 jobs in my whole life, and I own my own businesses since I was 20 years old, and I'm 57 now. So I've got a lot of years of experience hiring people. And at one point I had 2 gas stations in New Jersey, and the gas stations that I had, a Mobil and a Sunoco, you have to, in New Jersey, you're not allowed to pump your own gas. New Jersey and Oregon are the only 2 states in the United States where you can't pump your own gas. It's against the law. So I had to hire in people to pump gas. And I remember my accountant saying to me back in like 1986, Brian, you went through 140 employees this year.
140 in 1 year.
140.
Well, that's a tough job to hire for too, though, right? Isn't it? Isn't that like the most boring job?
Gas. It was like, it was like minimum wage. And, you get high school kids and you get, the midnight shift was the hardest. You'd get somebody to work midnight shift and then they wouldn't come in. I've had everything happen you could possibly imagine. I mean, I had one incident where, I got a phone call from one of my customers at 6:00 in the morning, and he said to me, "Hey, Brian, this is Tommy. I'm at your gas station, and there's nobody here." And I said, "Okay, I'll come down here." He goes, "No, but the door's wide open." He goes, "And it looks like the wrecker went through the garage door." The guy had come to work, opened up the garage door. It kind of came down halfway, and he went to back the truck out, and the boom caught the door. The door smashed on the truck and broke, and he went home. I have had like the most bizarre stuff that you could possibly imagine happen.
Let me ask you a question real quick. So you love the term A player, and I do too. I never really called it that before I met you, but can you define what an A player is in your mind?
Sure. Yeah. An A player is the person who's the best at doing their job. So you can have an A player that's the clerk in the convenience store, and you can have an A player that's a rocket scientist. So it's not like only A players can take the top jobs. There's an A player for every level. So when I hear people say, oh, I'm not going to get an A player window washer, that's nonsense. If you ask most employers who have more than like 2 or 3 employees and say, how many guys you have that are really an A player, they'll tell you one. So at least there's one at every business. There's one. And the rest of them are the B and the C players. So an A player is the guy who says, when you say, hey, I need somebody to work on Saturday, they're like, I'll do it. There's somebody that treats the customer with respect, follows all your systems, is passionate about the job, loves it. Now, everybody says, well, you have to pay A players a lot of money. An A player will never, ever cost you money. Never. You could pay an A player $30 an hour, and that guy's going to make you $150 an hour.
That's really good.
You pay a B player $12 an hour, and he's going to lose you money every day of the week because he's trading dollars for hours. If you hire a C player, he's going to make your A player quit.
Ooh.
He's going to be so bad that the A player's not going to want to work with him. And everybody's had this. That guy that's always like, hey, Joe, why are you kissing the boss's butt and working overtime? Why don't you just slow down? You're working too fast, man. That's the C player guy.
Right. Yeah, and I've had those, and they're cancer. They're cancer. And let me ask you this. Do you see, because on Facebook and different communities, and you've been in the business a long time, do we just have too low of expectations? Do we just think it's not possible? That's why we don't dig deeper and push harder and have higher standards or something? Or do you think it's a lack of organization and planning because we're hiring too quickly? Why are people having companies full of B and C players and just thinking that's the way it has to be?
They get jammed up in the springtime or when it's really busy, and they put an ad on Craigslist. The first guy that's breathing and has got a pulse, they take him. They didn't do any background check. They didn't do anything. So you have to look at it like this. You look at a winning football team like I hate to say it because I don't want to offend anybody, but the New England Patriots, okay? If you look at a team like that who goes to the Super Bowl and wins, okay, their coach and their owner are vetting every single person that comes on that team. They're looking at everything they did in high school. They're looking at everything they did in college. They're looking at their criminal records. They're drug testing them. They're checking their egos. They're making sure they're a culture fit. They're doing everything they can to create an A team that's going to win the Super Bowl. And you have to think of your business like that. If somebody just showed up with a shoulder pads and a helmet and said to the New England Patriots, hey, I want to play running back today, they'd be like, what? But we say, oh, you're hired. Come on in. I'll give you $12 an hour.
Yeah, it's true. And you know what else I think people do is sometimes small businesses will actually have an A player, but they either don't appreciate or invest in that person correctly, and then the A player kind of gets, distraught and wants to leave, or maybe they just don't have any kind of culture to even inspire the A player. Like an A player for me, look, I'm an A player. And I know that you are. That's not cocky. It's just true. Even when I delivered pizzas, I showed up early. I stayed late. I took the extra shifts. I worked all the time. I went above and beyond. And I did the right thing when no one was looking, which is what I used to always teach in my company before I sold it was, how do we build and hire people that will do the right thing when no one's looking? That's really the same thing as saying an A player. I was that guy. And people like us, I don't want to work for an organization that's totally a mess and the leadership sucks and there's no energy and there's no vision and there's none of that. That could also be part of the problem, right?
It is the whole problem. And I can tell you right now, the whole reason, every single bad hire that I ever made in my entire life, every single fire that I had to make in my entire life was my fault.
Ooh, that's going to be hard for some people to hear, especially the people that have a victim mentality.
I could care less if it's hard for them to hear, because until you get it in your head that it is you're just going to have the same problems every day.
Yeah, I put a post. I put a post on Facebook a few months ago that said every single thing in your business is your fault or something like that. I said blame yourself for everything, and it was really like a polarizing concept. They're like, well, no, it's not, and some people are like, yeah, absolutely, and people are arguing. There's like 100 comments on it.
No, it's your fault for sure. And look, you're the guy who said you're hired. You're the guy who didn't vet the guy. You're the guy who never checked his criminal background. You're the guy who didn't drug test him. You didn't do your job.
Yeah.
Okay. When I market for new clients, I consistently market. I have my marketing ads down. I have what I want to say to them down. I have a sales pitch that I want to give to them, or a marketing pitch that's going to make them call me. And you do the same thing for A players. You make your ad some place that somebody will want to come to work. I just helped a guy the other day, and he was in, I believe, in the growth vault, and he wrote an ad that was so bad. It was like, it's hard, dirty work, long hours, and the pay is not good. Who the hell wants that job? So I'm like, I emailed him and I said, listen, try this. And I said, here's what it is. You get to work every day with the owner. So it's not a big corporation. We have a family feel about the company. It's outside work. Nobody's breathing down your neck. The pay's good because we only want people that are above average here, so we pay above average. Okay, that's a whole another way. And it's hard work, but we want people who want to get a workout while they work. So you're attracting the guy that works out. But the City Bin Company in Ireland had the best ad like ever for hiring people. Now this is picking up garbage at 3 a.m. That takes a special guy.
Yeah.
Now, Dublin has like a super high unemployment rate. A City Bin Company had a guy working for them that ended up being, I believe he was a kickboxer. I can't remember what it was, but it was some kind of MMA or kickboxing. And when he won the championship belt, they said, where do you work? And he goes, I work for the City Bin Company. It's perfect, man. I get my workout. I run. I don't even ride on the truck. I run. I pick the cans up and I throw them in the garbage. He goes, and then I go do my workout. So he goes, I'm always lean and mean because I work for the City Bin Company. So the City Bin Company caught on to that, and they said, hey, you want to get a workout while you're working? Come work here.
That's genius.
They were inundated with guys, all A players. Everybody wanted to work. They're like, wow, what a great place.
That's amazing. It's just changing your paradigm. It's just rewarding it. Now, what's your opinion? Because when I would do job postings, I tried to make a concerted effort to talk about the bad parts of the job. I wouldn't try to scare them away, but to be like authentic about the fact, hey, this is hard. You got to work weekends, but put a positive spin, kind of give them both sides as a way to maybe weed out people that are lazy. Do you think you can go too far with that? Is that what you're saying? What do you think? Do you just focus on the good stuff?
But I think that like when you're gonna when you're looking for ads, like I ask, like, do you want to be appreciated and recognized for your work? Do you want to work with a team of superstars and no underperformers? That's a guarantee I'm making. I'm making you a guarantee that you're going to work with other A players and there won't be one deadbeat working here. A lot of guys will just hire just for that because they're tired of working with C players dragging their butts. You know, when you're an A player and you have a C player working with you, it kills you. You do 3/4 of the house, he does 1/4 of the house. He's smoking a cigarette, talking on the phone to his girlfriend and texting or whatever, and you're up on the roof doing the roof cleaning.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've experienced it. I know people are hearing this. And actually, you had a story one of the times we talked about one of your best employees quitting because of a bad hire you made. It frustrated the good guy, and then he left. Tell us about that.
Absolutely, yeah. He had been here with me for over 10 years, and I brought in 2 guys that were C players. I didn't vet him right, and unfortunately, he ended up working with him, and he said to me, you know, I used to get done. He was on salary, and he said, you know, I used to get done at like 4 or 5 o'clock. Now I'm not getting done till 7, and I'm doing too much work, and I'm out of here. And it was too late then. I mean, I said to him, well, hey, here's what I'll do. I'll get rid of those guys, and you stay. And he was like, no, I'm already out of here, man. I mean, like in his head, he was gone.
Yeah, he checked out, held on as long as he could, then he left. That...
You know, yeah, I mean, I say right in the ad, you know, that I tell him, you know, what it's going to be about. You're going to be outside working in the rain. You know, it's going to be hot out, but there's nobody on your back. The money's really good. We have great training. And once you go through our training program, I mean, we just finished our training up here, and it was like a whole week of training. But it's not just like, you know, here's the power washer wand or here's the squeegee. The first 2 days were just on culture.
Yeah.
We talked for like 12 hours about culture, how to treat customers right, how to do things right. You got to get buy-in.
Yes.
Nobody, you know, think about this. People will go work for a nonprofit and take with the skills that they have, say they do marketing or whatever they do, but they really believe in like the Save the Cats or whatever their nonprofit is, and they can make $100,000 working someplace else, but they take the job because they believe in the culture, they're a fit, and they take the job for $40,000. People, money is not what motivates people. It's the last thing down on the list.
Yeah, oftentimes it is. And when you said something about marketing, recruiting and hiring is marketing. We have to market
Absolutely.
our company from that perspective just as good as we do to get customers to give us money. I mean, you're trying to get humans to give you their time and their life and invest in and to trust you. And you're trying to get your customers to give you money, but it's both just different types of marketing. And I want to talk about your course because I had came to you several months ago and basically begged you, Brian, can I convince you to do a course? Like, can I get you to teach your process? Because, we're friends privately and I've seen your documents, your systems. I've sat in on an interview that you did. Like, everything is so high level. Even the stuff I teach in my boot camp is just so many notches below what you've really created for your company. And Brian said yes, and he created a course. And so what I did is I had my team on Automate, Grow, Sell basically, edit and put together the course and the documents and bring it all together because that's what we're good at. But Brian literally built a course called the Ultimate Rockstar Employee Toolkit, which we're going to release. It's inexpensive. It's amazing. And it has every single thing. And we'll get into that in a minute, all this stuff, but it also has all these documents. And I think another thing that holds people back from marketing their job position is they don't know what to say, where to start, where to post it. They don't have any internal documents or structure or any kind of framework on what to do. And so their default is just to hire the neighbor kid or post a crappy thing on Craigslist and pick the best one out of the 3 people that show up. And we're going to be able to fix that with your course. So first of all, why did you agree to do that when you were fishing in Florida?
Well, actually, you know what? I'm not the inventor of all of the tactics and stuff that I use. I don't think anybody reinvents how to hire people. I mean, people have been getting hired since the beginning of time, basically. So, I mean, I went and read I don't even know, probably 15 or 20 books, every single blog I could read, every single thing on the internet, because I really knew that if I didn't solve my hiring problem, the people that work for you are the who. And if everything else you do is either how you do it or what you do. So if you have what problems, like, you can't get this cleaned or whatever, and how you can't get this done or whatever, you can't get any of that done unless you have the who people. Unless you have the right people, none of that's going to happen. You could have all those problems, they're never getting solved until you have the right guy in the seat. So, when you asked me to do it, I thought about it long and hard, and I'm like, you know what? There's not that many people that are really in direct competition with me for the labor pool that I'm advertising into. And why not help everybody else? Because this is like 27 years just in this business, then I have another 10 years in gas stations and mechanics. It's like, I have like almost 4 decades of hiring people, and I have made a ton of mistakes. I mean, tons. I can tell you stories about people who stole from me, people who lit stuff on fire, people who wrecked my stuff, people who just flat out lied to me, people who have no integrity, no honesty, no dependability. And I realized that every single one of those mistakes was mine.
What's so exciting about this to me, Brian, is you've spent, all these years making mistakes, and we've talked about the pain, but you've solved it. And with your company, the growth you've had and how, it's just a rocket ship. Tell us about the 12 people that you have in training right now and what the result is of them going through this same process that's in the course.
Well, we have, the hiring process is a real vetting process. So we make them go through numerous steps to even get to us for an interview, and none of those steps involves any interaction with us at all. So it's an ad that makes them respond to a telephone number rather than sending, like Indeed makes you email your resume to the employer. Well, we don't take emails. I'm not interested in your resume because in your resume, you're not telling me that you quit on your last boss with no notice. Well, you probably even left him off your resume, but that you quit on your last boss with no notice, and the guy before that, you smashed his car up. You're not saying that in your resume. Nobody is. So to me, a resume is nothing but junk. I might skim it, but I'm not even really considering your resume. You may as well just take it, throw it in the garbage. So, I make them call an 800 number that we set up, and for each one of the openings that we have, positions in my company, we've created a system. So I have a voicemail for a mechanical job. I have a voicemail for a tech. I have a voicemail for office, voicemail for office manager, voicemail for a salesperson, and it explains to them all about our company culture first. I'm selling them the job, just like I'm marketing to a prospect for power washing. I'm saying, hey, listen, we can solve your problem.
Well, tell us about what that produced. Because what we're gonna do, because there's a lot to go through here, Brian. I want to break this up into a couple different chunks, and so what we're gonna do to wrap this first session up here is tell us what was produced by them going through that. Like, tell us about the 12 people, because I know how excited you were before we even started recording this. You said, Josh, I have the best team I've ever had. Every single one of these guys are A players. I mean, how exciting is it? Tell us what putting them through this process, which we'll go into deeper here on the session number 2. What was the end result for you?
Oh, well, I can tell you this. We do Dream Manager, and we help our employees get their dreams. So, like, they want to travel, they want to get a new car, an apartment, or whatever. So I stood up at the beginning of the second day after we talked about culture and we talked about their dreams. I had everybody write their dreams down. And I said, here's my dream. My dream is to be a better leader. My dream is to have patience. So I want you to hold me accountable when I'm not patient with you. My dream is to have a team of players that can work together, get the job done, where everybody knows their part. And every morning when I wake up, I can take a deep breath and relax and say, my people have it. I don't have to worry about it today. That's my dream. And so that's what I'm building. I'm building that. To me, that's the Super Bowl win right there.
Yeah, and you just had everybody memorizing each other's names, and you spent, like you said, an entire day just on culture.
Absolutely. They all know each other's names. We did a little thing on the first day where we hit a balloon in the air at the table, and you have to say your name, first name and last name, and then the third time around you have to say the person's name you were hitting it to, first name and last name. And by the end of the week, everyone had to stand up and say everybody's first and last name in the room. So it's not like Big Steve or, Small Joe or whatever it is. It's like the person's name, and you're going to be working with them.
Well, what's really cool about this is you're literally doing team building, which sounds like one of those corporate boring things, or maybe the little guy with only a couple employees is like, I don't want to hit a balloon around Josh. But here's what they're not understanding. Can you imagine going up, and I'm talking to the listeners, trying to go to war against the team Brian's describing, right? He's got 12 guys that are hungry, they're invested in, they're getting deeply trained. There's a whole vetting process before they even talk to Brian. Then they got hammered and they got vetted and they got all these questions. And then they go through the training and the culture and they're reading books. They're doing all this stuff. Like that team, they're going to go to war. They're going to crush. They're going to dominate. Like they're going to do the right thing when no one's looking. That's amazing. You're becoming, and I wrote a blog post called How to Become a Nightmare to Compete With. And what you're describing is like the backbone of how to make your company a nightmare to compete with, because at the end of the day, all a company is people. And when you have the best people in the world, you're going to have the best company in the world. So let's leave it there for now, okay? Because I want to come back and then hit more specifics on the different steps, the recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training, development. And we'll do that in session 2. Brian, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.